Hi guys, my name is Pratham and I'm the co-founder and CEO at Zell. This video, first of all, we're going to cover all the details about CPA, the US CPA, which has gained tremendous popularity in India, especially over the last year, since prior to that, candidates from India were only able to give this exam had they gone to Dubai or US. But now from 2021, these exams have been held in India across the country, and that's the reason that not only students who have graduated and were earlier thinking of something on the lines of CA are now taking up CPA, as well as people who are already chartered accountants or working in any of these companies which require US accounting are all taking up CPA. So first of all, we are going to cover all your doubts from its introduction to eligibility, the academic structure, the value and the scope of this qualification in India as well as other countries, the fee structure, a lot of other doubts that people have, such as how do I get the license for it, or what's the work experience as part of this. And by the way, if there's anything that you all have which does not get covered in the video, feel free to reach out to us. We'll put the number here. Many of you all know that we already do train candidates in many finance and accounting certifications, including CPA, such as ACCA, CFA, CMA, the IFRS course, all of this. So with that said, yes, and if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe. If you genuinely find any sort of value from this video, please click like, because it helps other people on YouTube such as yourself find these videos. So with that said, let me get into the detail. For all of you all who do not know what this CPA US is, let me clarify. CPA, the full form is Certified Public Accountant. Now, you know how we have CA in India? That's the US version of CA. They don't call it chartered accounting chartered accounting over there, they call it CPA. If you watched many movies or any of these shows, here and there you'll keep hearing, especially in shows like Suits, or if you watched Billions, or if you've seen movies such as The Big Short, right? They keep referring to these terms called CPAs. What they mean are basically chartered accountants of the US. Even Shawshank Redemption, if I remember right, has the main protagonist who's basically a CPA. So that's the US equivalent of CA. And CPA is a term that is used in many countries, including Canada, Singapore, Australia. So we are only talking about the US CPA, which is governed by the body called AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountant. So if you are thinking of Indian CA and you think of US CA, that's what CPA is all about. The first question which people ask is on eligibility. Let me make it simple, guys. First of all, the eligibility is extremely complicated for CPA. My recommendation is do not try and figure out if you're eligible or not and do a lot of homework, because US has 50 states and 5 provinces. That's a total of 55 states. Each of them, unlike India, see in India, if you want to do CA, whether you do it from Bombay or Delhi, or you do it from Gujarat or Maharashtra or Karnataka, it doesn't matter, right? You just need X kind of criteria, which is essentially you have to clear your grade 12 and you're eligible for CA. In CPA, it's not like that, right? Each state, like I want to become a CPA of New York, that has an entire different criteria than if it is for California. And for India, that's really difficult because these criteria require us to have the social security number and a US citizenship, and so on and so forth. So to make it simple, I just have one basic question for you all. If you are a commerce graduate and meaning if you've completed BCom or BBA and you're willing to pursue most likely an MCom, right? Even if you're in this is the most basic requirement. You've completed your graduation, you're willing to study a little more. If this is the criteria, you will be 99% eligible. Once again, you'll have to reach out to somebody like us who can guide you with details to understand your customized profile. But a graduate with an openness to study a basic master's is technically going to be eligible for CPA. There are credit systems and you have to complete it from these kind of NAC A grade colleges from India and all. It's very complex. So keep it as basic as possible. As long as a BCom graduate wants to study something further, is willing to study something further, you are most likely eligible. Now beyond this, if you've already completed your MCom, the chances that you're eligible is very high. If you've already completed your chartered accounting, you're definitely going to be eligible. If you are somewhere in the middle of your CA, right, you've just completed your inter CA or IPGC, then also your chances that you're eligible is, the likelihood is very high. When it comes to the 55 states, right, which state do you want to get registered under? Don't get into all of that. Once again, just leave it to us. We'll help you with the entire eligibility. The CPA academic structure. What's really important to candidates when they're taking up CPA is, is this something that you can really study and enjoy? Is this something that somehow resonates with you? If you've really done well in your past academics in finance or accounts, or in your current job you really like finance or accounts, maybe CPA will really resonate with you. So let me break down the academic structure. CPA comprises of 4 exams. That's it. It's a very simple qualification compared to our Indian CA, which has 3 levels and each level has 4 to 8 papers. CPA has only 4 exams. Paper 1, it's called FAR, Financial Accounting and Reporting. It's all about the US accounting standards, which we call US GAAP, GAAP, the US Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. Very important when companies like Apple and Amazon have outsourced their companies to India. People from India will actually do their accounting and they have to follow US GAAP. Or when a company like Infosys from India or Reliance, which is listed on NASDAQ, they have to comply with the US rules. So again, they have to apply US accounting. That's what FAR teaches you. Very fun subject, very good subject. We generally recommend people that always do this subject before you appear for the next one, which is called audit. Audit, as simple as the overall qualification, it's all about giving your view on whether the financial statements are true and fair. If you don't understand this, don't worry. When you start studying it, you will understand it's an essential part of how our commercial world works. The third subject is called BEC, Business Environment and Concepts. Like it sounds, it teaches you a little bit about business, and it has financial concepts such as financial management, management accounting, and costing. And the last one is called regulation. REG or regulation is all about US tax and US laws. Right? Now these 4 papers can be essentially given in any order, and when it comes to the exam duration, we've seen that mostly people can complete it anywhere between 6 to 12 months depending on how much time they have. If you're working, take a year as an approximate. The max, I think you should look at completing it with maximum of 18 months, and not only is it reasonable, I'll tell you, it's actually much more achievable to complete it within a year than to stretch it further. Plus CPA has certain rules that if you've given paper 1 and you spend more than 18 months before you complete all the papers, the first paper will lapse. So it makes no sense in waiting so long. That's why we suggest 12 months is ideal. Next comes exam window. Now, exam window means when can you give the CPA exam, and the answer in India now, in fact worldwide, is you can give the exam 365 days of the year. They're called on-demand exam. There is an entire process on how to apply for it and things like that, which again we'll help you with. But the long and short of it is you can give these exam anytime throughout the year. Point number 4 is the passing rate. Globally, the passing rate of CPA ranges from 45% to around 55%. Here, luckily, because we've had a little experience in teaching finance and accounting qualifications, so at Zell we have a passing rate which goes above 85%. But the point is that across the world, out of every 2 people who give the exam, 1 passes. And finally, exam pattern, the paper pattern. Now people generally care about, are there MCQs, are there objective questions, are there subjective? So let me clarify that. For all the 4 exams, you have 50% objectives, which is MCQs, and the other 50% is also MCQs, but in the form of case studies, which they call simulations. So the way you should think is the entire 100-mark paper, each 4 of them are all multiple choice questions. Most Indian candidates keep asking that is there negative marking? There's no negative marking. Only 1 paper, which is the Business Environment and Concepts, BEC paper, out of its 115% is a little bit subjective, but the rest of the 85% and 100% of the other 3 papers are all multiple choice questions. The value or the scope of CPA in India as well as overseas. So first of all, let me talk about India, right? since that's what most of us care about. So CPA in India, you can consider if you're only a CPA, first of all, you are going to be equal to that of a chartered accountant here in India. We have people who after MCOM just did CPA and they're getting hired in companies like the Big Four, the KPMGs, EY, PwCs and Deloittes of the world. Grant Thornton is a huge, we have a very powerful association with Grant Thornton where they hire a lot of CPAs and ACCAs with us throughout the year. And they're all willing to put these guys at the same level as that of a CA. So in India, I know, like I was saying earlier, companies like Apple and Amazon in India, companies like Infosys and Reliance, we conduct corporate training with companies like Maersk, which also have corporate training for CPA for their employees, because people in these companies are being hired as CPAs. So the kind of companies, the kind of salary packages will be, even the kind of profiles, what work do you do, right? You can work in audit, you can work so audit will be statutory audit, internal audit, you work in advisory, risk advisory, accounting advisory, you work in US specific companies like Apple and Amazon, and those are going to have specific US accounting work for you. So the profiles, the companies, the salaries in India if you're working is equal to that of a CA. In fact, a lot of our faculty members, we have faculty, a couple of them, one faculty member's name is Vrinda. She used to work in Abbott, which is a pharmaceutical company in the past, and now works at a company called NatWest. We have another faculty member whose name is Abhinav. Abhinav is, he's now teaching full time, but he has experience from all these kind of multinationals, and he can now further take his studies, his education to a higher level, and he's also become an angel investor. So what CPA gives you as a platform is undefinable when you're looking at starting it. What you can be sure of is you'll get the same kind of value as that of CAs in India. Lastly, when you talk about going overseas, especially US, but you can also do Canada and so on and so forth, you can go in these countries and get similar jobs that the Big Four kind of companies provide in other countries. A lot of people want to go to Canada, right? Indians are, for some reason, really excited to go to Canada, and the Canadian government is opening their arms to invite Indians who are specialized as accountants. So the CA of Canada is called CPA Canada. Now, you can study that directly, but that's a little longer course, and it doesn't make sense because US CPA, which we are talking about, has a direct agreement with the Canadian CPA that if a candidate finishes US CPA, he or she can become a CPA from Canada without giving any additional exam. So you give the US CPA from India, become a US CA so that you can work in India or US, and then without any additional effort get the Canadian CPA. Now by giving one exam you can work not just in India but in US and in Canada. So it's a really nice shortcut to reach there. And one very common question, that what is the fee structure? How expensive is it to complete the program for CPA? So CPA is actually, it used to be much more expensive when you had to go to the US or Dubai to give the exam, because you would have to take into account the flight and the accommodation cost. And worse, in case for whatever reason those poor people would not clear it in the first go, they would have to go again to US or Dubai. So it used to be much more expensive. Now in India, what's happening is you save on the travel and accommodation cost, but certain US CPA costs have increased from the exam center point of view in India versus US or Dubai. So let me break it down. First of all, to complete entire US CPA, you can aim at approximately 3.5 lakh rupees. This includes everything. It includes the exam fees, the body fees, where you will have registration or evaluation fees. You'll have, each 4 exams that you give, you'll have to pay the body something. You have exam fees, you have training fees, which most of us need, land up taking. There is study material cost. Study material is, we have Becker as a global publisher, Wiley as a global publisher. Most of us study CPA through one of these, and they cost quite a bit. So when you combine all these costs, okay, the total will come approximately to 3.5 lakhs. It can vary a little here and there because of the dollar rate, but 3.5 lakhs is good enough. This is further broken down, like I said, into these components. Let me talk a little bit quickly about the training fees. In India, the training fees ranges anywhere from like a lakh to a lakh 20 depending on where you're taking it from and what benefits they have, because for example, here not only do we do the entire 4 papers training, we have CPA qualified faculties like I was naming who have further connects in corporates to help us with not only industry examples but also connecting us to other networks, other CPAs in India as well as overseas. The learning management system on which we provide all these things, we have a lot of tests and mocks, because think about it, it's an on-demand exam. You can go and give the exam anytime. How do you know if you're ready? Right? The best way would be you give what we call mock exam. Put yourself in an exam situation, lock the door and actually sit in the exam, try to give it, and let's say your first experience was okay, you don't really clear. You sit again, and by the 4th time, for example, that you actually sit, let that be the real exam, you will be so not overwhelmed because you would have already gone through that experience so many times because of the mocks, that in the exam the chances of you clearing is much higher. Plus faculty members won't let you go and sit for the exam unless you're really, according to them, prepared. So there are many benefits here. We again, it's a little bit more about Zell, but we are able to help students get placed across the country in all these kind of companies as CPAs. So there are these kind of advantages that certain training institutes have, which changes the fee structure. And otherwise, the study material is massive. If you go and buy a Becker set directly from Becker, it's quite, I think it goes over a lakh and a half. Here it's all included in the fee structure of the training institute. So multiple training institutes across the country have various advantages. That's on you guys to decide. But I would suggest take 3.5 lakhs as the total fee. That you can spread over a year, maybe a year and a half if you take longer, but that's the kind of outflow you should look at if you're looking at completing CPA. And the last bit is people keep asking that, if CA has articleship, does CPA have anything? So simple answer is yes. In CPA, you need to work for a year. The work has to be in the field of finance and accounts. So you can work in a CA firm, you can work in any company for that matter, any industry, as long as you're working in the accounting or the finance department. And the work can be done before your CPA exams, during your CPA exams, or even after. And as long as you're working in the field of finance and accounts, post that in your own company or even outside. This is the big USP of CPA. You can even find another CPA who's outside your company who can verify, who will have to sign and tell the AI CPA body that yes, I know that this person, even though he or she may not have worked in my company, has worked for 1 year in the field of F&A. So that's the work experience bit, and based on this, right, you have to fulfill some other basic criteria, and that's when you get your CPA license. So it's like going from, if you all understand ACCA, going from an ACCA affiliate to an ACCA member. Or if you know about CA, right, you can't become a CA without going through the articleship even if you clear all the exams. In a similar way, you can complete CPA exams, but to get the entire qualification with a license, you need to complete a year's experience and have it signed off. So guys, I hope that most of your questions should be answered. These are I tried to cover everything that I know most of us land up wanting to know and are unclear about. Once again, if there's anything pending, please do reach out to us, and I promise you that if you're contemplating anything in the field of finance and accounts, whether it's CPA, whether it's CA, ACCA, CFA, feel free to reach out to us, because it's more important that you make the right decision than you just get into something, realize after a year or two it's not what you liked, and you're back to square one.